bookshelf speakers and bass performance. This is in the form of a question from Felipe in Sao Paulo, Brazil. Felipe writes, my room is not so big, so I decided to go for a bookshelf speaker system, and that is comprised of the Cambridge Audio Topaz Amp 10, that's a small 35 watt amp, and a pair of Dolly Sensor 3s. While I love the sound they produce, I sometimes think it lacks a little punch. Am I missing too much by not adding a sub? I know you always recommend adding a sub, but what do you think of the Dollies? Should I replace the bookshelves for floor standers with more bass drivers and just call it a day? I'm afraid of adding a sub and messing everything in the small room. Or maybe my amp is the culprit. It is only 35 watts, after all. I appreciate any advice, and thank you very much. Well, Felipe, thank you for the question. There's a couple of things to think about here. The quick answer to this, and I'm training myself to give you the quick answer first so that those ants and those with ants in their pants can move along. Go away. Sorry. The quick answer is I am guessing it's your amplifier. And before I added a sub, I would change that amplifier out to something with a bit more oomph. 35 watts ain't much. And a two-way, generally two-ways, if they have any bass at all, are not all that efficient. Because what they do is they take down the efficiency of the tweeter to match the woofer, because you've got here's a two-way. This is an Amphion two-way. And this is in a little box. And it's hard for a woofer in a little box to give you much bass. So what you can do is, if you measure it, the bass response being in this small trapped little thing, kind of goes down pretty quickly. But if you lower the efficiency of the whole speaker down, then it's flatter for a bit longer. And then we can do other things like, there's plenty of other things we could do. Or we could have a different type of bookshelf. Like take this one here. See if I can pull a grill of this thing off. Okay. So this is in Walter Lederman's company, I think it's the ERA. And this is a floor standing speaker. And you'll notice it has a tweeter and a couple of woofs, right? And then a port down here. Well, if this only had one woofer, then can you see? If it only had one woofer, and many of these floor standers do, this would essentially be a two-way loudspeaker with its own built-in stand. And the only real advantage of this two-way loudspeaker with its own built-in stand is that the woofers have a bit more room to work in, so that you can relax their requirements. You get a bit more bass out of it because of the bigger cabinet. But see if I can get this back on here so it doesn't rattle for the guys. One of the cool things about working at PS Audio is it's like, here's a Yamo sub. Customers trade in stuff all the time, and we gladly take trade-ins. So, and we give full original retail price on a trade-in. So whoever traded these Amphions in, or this Yamo sub, even though, this thing is a Bowser, this thing's been through the mill, he got full retail for that, which is kind of cool. So we do honor trade-ins in a good way. But anyway, part of the fun of being here is that when those things come through, the guys like, whoa, look at what someone traded in. And they grab it and they learn about it and they get to play with it, and it stays up here for a while. We just had a pair of Anthony Gallo speakers up here, and guys had never heard it, so that was a good chance for them to do it, and they get to play with all that kind of stuff. So it's kind of cool. Anyway, what were we talking about? Bass in small speakers, yeah. So Felipe's question is, should he add a subwoofer? Well, in the long run, yes, you should, because these small speakers, and even these, which are actually just small speakers with a little bit bigger cabinet and a built-in stand, none of them have real bass. So a subwoofer, and especially a pair of subwoofers, is really valuable. But here's Paul's law, or axiom, if you will. Take care of the biggest, most obvious problems first. Don't try and add something without fixing the original problem. And I believe that little Cambridge you got, it's a fine amplifier, but it's a weenie. So get yourself something with 100 watts a channel minimum for that speaker. You really need to get some oomph and power behind it, and then see where you're at. Now, it may be just fine for you. It may, like, wow, for the levels I play it at and for the kind of music I play it at, it's just fine. Good. Done with it. You want to keep going? Add a subwoofer, which is always going to be my recommendation, but fix the main problem first, and I believe that is you have run out of gas. All right. Thanks for watching, and I will talk to you tomorrow. Bye.